Hi everyone. So today we're going to work on adding and subtracting, multiplying and dividing functions. So let's take a minute to kind of review what a function is and how we're going to add and subtract. And then we're going to actually look at what values can we use for our functions. All right, so let's review. So remember that a function is an equation where it has no repeating x values. Okay, so you can think of it as a set of ordered pair where all the x guys are different. You can think of a graph where it passes the vertical line test. Some of the things that we need to remember is that all lines are functions because they all pass the vertical line test. So things like that would be a function. We have notation. We call it f of x. Okay, we've dealt with that before. You can also have g of x and h of x. They're just names. And putting there f of x and g of x there means that whatever follows, whatever equation is there, is a function. So we're going to also do some evaluating. So we want to remember that if I said like g of 2, that means put 2 into the equation everywhere you see the variable like x. Okay? All right, so let's talk about function operations. We're going to be able to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Pretty simple. For addition, all we're going to do is add the two functions together and combine like terms. For subtraction, we're going to subtract the two functions. Be careful to remember the minus or negative sign and be able to combine like terms. All right, multiply, we're going to multiply. We may need to do distributive property. We need to do FOIL, split, distribute, box, whatever method you use. And then division, we're going to divide the two functions, and remember we can't have any radicals in the denominator, and we're going to have to be concerned about what can't we be in the denominator of our function. All right, so let's start with just our operations. Okay, so here are our two functions. F of x is x squared minus 9, g of x is x plus 3. So we're going to add them. So I'm just going to go x squared plus minus 9 plus x plus 3. All right, so notice that I used parentheses because I want to put them in there before I start combining like terms to see if there's anything that I may need to distribute or anything like that. So always use parentheses. So I don't see anything that we need to distribute, so I'm just going to have x squared. Then next would be x, and then negative 6. And that's as far as you're going to go. There's no factoring. There's none of that. I'm putting two functions together. I want to know what the expression is. Okay, so we're going to do f minus g. And it's really, really important, especially when you do subtraction and division. Order matters. So this says f minus g, so I'm going to put f first, minus g. Okay, so here's this negative sign, so I have to distribute that. And then I'm going to combine like terms. And that's my solution. Okay, so let's try the f times g. So x squared minus 9 times x plus 3. Okay, so here's your FOIL, split, box method. Okay, I'm going to do split. And now I would look and see if there's anything combined, other like terms or putting in order. And that's as far as we're going to go. Okay, so here we have x squared minus 9 over x plus 3. Okay, that's as far as I need you to go. All right. Okay, so pause the video and try number 2. Okay. And that's what we get. All right. Now, let's talk about domain. This is the other key component. Domain, remember, is what values can we use for x, or the variable. What numbers? Let's not use values. What numbers? Can be used variable. Okay. Our big concern is denominators. And radicals. Okay? All right, so remember, you can't have 0. So denominators is no 0. Radicals, it has to be greater than 0. Okay? Otherwise, we get error message in our calculators and stuff. All right, so here's how this is going to work. We're going to go back up to number 1, and we're going to look at each one and say what would be the domain. So here's our first one. Okay, so here he is. Okay, now here's a little hint. If you look at the individual ones, it's the same as the individuals. The sum, the product, and the difference are always the same as the individuals. So if we look, x squared plus x minus 6 is a quadratic. We know the domain is all real numbers. The domain of x squared minus 9 is all real numbers. The domain of x plus 3 is all real numbers. Why am I saying all real numbers? Because I can put any number in for x and I'm going to get a solution. That's what we mean by that. So A would be all real numbers. Okay, let's talk about B. Again, all real numbers. There's no fractions, there's no decimals, everything works. And guess what for C? Look at that. No fractions, no decimals, all real numbers. Okay, let's talk about D. D is the division. Okay, now because we have a fraction, we said we can't have 0 in the bottom of the fraction. We know that. So I'm going to take my bottom, x plus 3, set it equal to 0 to find out what would make me get 0. That's negative 3. So our domain is going to be all real numbers, except I'll start that over. Negative 3. And I skipped the word numbers. There we go. All right, so it's all about what can x be. X is going to be pretty much anything except when you have your fraction, your division. So take the denominator, set it equal to 0, figure out what x can't be, because that's going to give you 0, and that's going to be your domain. All real numbers except him. Okay. Try it with number 2 here. So all A, B, and C, the add, subtract, multiply, and divide is all real numbers. The division is all real numbers except negative 7 over 4 because I set that denominator equal to 0 and solved. All right, let's try one more. Okay, so let's do addition and subtraction here. So f of plus g of x is equal to x minus 3 plus the square root of x plus x. All right, that's about as much as we can do. Oh, wait, we can add those two x's together. So we're going to get 2x minus 3 plus the square root of x. All right, so let's talk about its domain. Looks like it's going to be all real numbers, but I have this guy, which means x has to be a positive number. So it's going to be all real numbers. X has to be greater than or equal to 0. Okay, let's try f minus. So we're going to subtract. Okay, so we're going to get x x minus 3 minus the square root of x minus x. I guess the x's cancel, and we're left with negative square root of x minus 3. All real numbers. X has to be greater than 0. Okay, we're going to stop there. We're not going to do this last question. I think we don't need to be that involved. All right, let me know if you have any questions. Again, guys, what are we doing? We're going to add, subtract, multiply, and divide functions, and then take a look at the domain, set any denominators equal to 0 in your radical, in your division, and that's pretty much it. It's going to probably be all real numbers. All right, let me know if you have any questions, guys, and I'll talk to you again real soon.